Hey, what's up everybody? Guinea Piggies Designs here. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is Brittany and I basically sew and make things for your animals. I also do other random stuff. So anyways, in my last tutorial, you guys said you wanted to see a hooded house tutorial. That was the most commented about, also the most liked comment. So I went ahead and made one up for you guys. This is the one I came up with. Also, I just want to do a side note. This tutorial is very similar to making a cuddle cup. It's practically the same process, only difference is just a different shape. So if you guys have not seen my cuddle cup tutorial, I recommend watching that video first, because this video I tried not to repeat any of the same steps I used in my cuddle cup video. So if you want to see like a more detailed version of how to sew around certain things, make sure you check out that video. I'll have it linked down below. And if anyone is interested in purchasing this hooded house, I will have this for sale in my shop for $50, and it comes with 2 removable pads which are in it, and I'll have all my social media links linked down below. Anyways, if you guys want to see how I made this hooded house, go ahead and keep on watching. For the first step of this tutorial, I'm going to show you my pattern pieces. So basically what I have here is a circle and then the hooded house piece. These are basically the 2 pieces you're gonna need. The circle is the same size as my cuddle cup circle, which measures 14 inches in diameter, right? And then this piece here measures 37 inches long. And then from here to up here, it measures 19 inches high. Here to here it measures 6 inches wide right here. And then like from here to here measures 11 inches. So after you get your pattern pieces made, what I like to do first is cut out the U-haul. And also in this tutorial, I am going to be making 2 removable pads. So what I'm going to do first is cut out the U-haul for the pads. What I like to cut out next is my bamboo batting. For this one, I'm going to cut out 6 circles of the bamboo batting. And since my bamboo batting is double, like it comes in a roll and it's double layered, so it's like 2 pieces, I'm going to cut out 3. When I cut out 3, I should have 6 pieces of this. Alright, so the next thing I like to cut out is 1 circle of this high loft batting. The next thing I like to cut out is the foam. I use 0.5 inch foam. I'll have this link down below. And this is what I use to line the upper part of the hooded house. And the last part of the cutting is we're going to cut out our fleece. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using this super cute llama anti-pill fleece, and I'm going to be using this matching magenta anti-pill fleece. So I'm going to start cutting out my print first. I'm going to first cut out the hooded house piece. So what I like to do is use my foam as a guide. And what you want to do is make the edges out here bigger to allow for seam allowance. I'm going to not get close to the edge up here. I am going to follow the edge down here. I'll show you. So you guys see how I left about 2 inches up here. I didn't get close to the edge up here. And I did that all the way around, even at the bottom, all the way up here. And then here, I try to get as close to the edge of my foam as possible. But when we get to that part, I'll show you how I sew that. And then I'm gonna cut out 3 circles of my print. Now I'm going to cut out my solid fleece, and basically with this one you're just going to repeat that same process, cutting out the same exact pieces you did with your print. Alright, so what I like to do is use this piece I cut out as guidance, just so they're the same size. Lastly, we're going to cut out 3 circles of our solid color. Alright, so these are all the pieces we are going to need to make our hooded house. So just a quick recap, we have 1 of the foams, that is our hooded house shape. We have our high loft batting to line the bottom of our hooded house. We have 2 layers of bamboo batting to line the bottom of our hooded house. And then I have 4 layers of bamboo batting to line the removable pads, and 4 layers of U-haul to line the removable pads. For our print, we have our hooded house shape, and then we have 1 for the bottom of your hooded house, and then I have 2 pieces of the print to line my pads. And then for your solid color, we have the hooded house piece. We have 1 for the bottom of your hooded house, and then 2 pieces of the solid color for your pads. So now I'm gonna set up my pieces for sewing. So what I'm gonna do first is set up my potty pads for sewing. Now I wanna do a really quick note. These potty pads, I make the exact same way I do my Cuddle Cup pads. And what I'm gonna do for the potty pads, I'm gonna speed through the whole process of the potty pads. So if you guys wanna see a detailed version of me making the removable pads, go ahead and check out my Cuddle Cup tutorial. I'll have that link down below. Actually, I'm sorry you guys, actually we're gonna need 6 circles of U-Haul for the hooded house. I forgot that I lined the bottom with 2 layers of U-Haul for the inside of the actual hooded house. So I'm gonna start prepping my hooded house now for sewing. So what I like to do is I like to use 2 layers of U-Haul. I just put them on top of each other like this. And then I'm gonna take my solid color and I'm gonna put it on top of that, making sure the good side is facing me. And this is gonna be the inside of your hooded house. And then what you could do next is clip all around it so it stays together when you sew. Next, we're gonna set up the bottom of your hooded house. So to do that, I lay down my bamboo batting, and then I lay down my high loft batting, and then I lay down my bamboo batting, and then I lay down my print. And this, you want to make sure the good side of the fleece is facing you. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put a few clips in so it stays together while we sew. Alright, so the next step, what I'm going to do is start prepping the actual top of the hooded house for sewing. So for this first piece, which is the solid color, I have the good side facing me. And then I'm going to fold it in half, making sure the 2 good sides are touching each other. So I fold it in half, and then you can go ahead and clip the edges up here if you want. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna sew a line all the way around this part. Next, I'm gonna lay down my print, and I want the bad side facing me. All right, and then I'm gonna lay down the foam, and I'm going to line it up to the edge here. And then now I'm going to clip all around it. This is how it looks when you clip all the way around it. The next step, what we're gonna do now is start sewing. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so now I'm in my sewing room. So what I like to do first when I sew the hooded house is I like to work on the pads. That's normally something I do first. And I have my pad right here. So basically, if you guys want to see a detailed version, again, check out my Cuddle Cup tutorial. So I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward through me making these pads, just because, again, I've already done this in my last tutorial. So go ahead and check that out if you guys want to see like a detailed version. And finish both of the potty pads. So this is how they should look when you finish sewing around them. So the next step of the process is we're going to start working on our actual hooded house. Alright, so let's do that. So for the first step in making the actual hooded house, I'm going to take the bottom of the hooded house that I have here, which is my 2 pieces of U-Haul and my solid color with the good side facing me. And I'm just going to sew all around it to keep all the layers together. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is how it should look when you sew all the way around it. The next step I'm gonna do is the bottom of the hooded house. So I'm basically gonna repeat this same process and sew all the way around it just like I did the bottom, except now we're going through 2 layers of bamboo batting and a layer of that high loft batting. So I'm gonna sew a straight line all the way around, leaving a 0.5 inch inseam. So let's go ahead and do that. And this is how it should look when you sew all around that piece. Alright, so now we're going to work on the actual like hooded part. So what I like to do first is work on the inside. Basically what you're going to do is take your solid color, and you should already have it folded the way I showed you before we started cutting. So what we're going to do here is, you see this round edge here, or to show this round edge right here. What we're going to do is leave a 2-inch inseam, and we're going to sew that part together. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is how it looks when I sewed all around the curved edge, starting to form the hooded house, you see. Alright, so the next step I do is cut off the excess. So this is how it looks when you cut off the excess. So now I'm going to start working on the outside piece. So what I like to do first is sew the front area, so all the way around that. So I'll show you how I do that. Alright, so first I like to sew around the opening area. So I try to get as close to the edge as possible. I leave a 0.5-inch inseam all the way around the front area. So you see how close I got to the front area, to the opening part. So I sewed all the way around, all the way to the other side. So I still have this side here. For the other parts of the top, what I like to do is sew a 2-inch inseam. I start right here, and then I sew all the way around, all the way down, and then I stop here, and then I sew a 2-inch inseam across here, all the way down, and then I stop right here on the other side, and I sew a 2-inch inseam up all the way back around and stop there. And this just allows me not to sew through the foam. So I'll show you how I add that seam. Alright, so I'm starting here, gonna sew all the way around. So this is how it looks when I added that seam all the way around. It went all the way, and it went around here. So that's how it looks. Only part I didn't do a 2-inch inseam again was just the opening part. The opening part I try to get as close to the edge as possible. Now what we're gonna do is connect the back pieces together. So to do that, you're gonna fold it with the two good sides touching each other, so the bad sides should be facing you. And what we're gonna do is start clipping the back together. So what I like to do first is clip the front right here, just to keep these 2 points lined up. You want these 2 points to be lined up when you clip it. All right, and then I'm just gonna add clips all the way around. Like to add a clip right here at the bottom, just to keep the edges lined up. Yeah. Alright, so when you clip it, you just want to make sure your foam is lined up on both sides. So now what we're gonna do is sew along here. So what you want to do here is, as you remove the clips, you want to pull out your fleece. And you want to try to get as close to the foam as you can, sewing both of these pieces together. You don't want to sew through the foam, just because again it's hard to go through 2 layers of foam, which is why I leave seam allowance with the fleece, which is why I made it bigger. So I'll go and show you how I do that. So this is how it looks when you sew the edges together here. So you see how I didn't sew through the foam, I just sewed through the fleece. And I'm going to turn it right side out just to make sure it's sewed correctly. If you get close enough to the foam, when you turn it right side out, the foam will lay evenly, and then the seams along here keep the foam and the fleece in place. So now what we're going to do is start attaching our bottoms to the tops of the hooded house. We have the inside of the hooded house here. I have the bottom, and then I have the top. So what I'm going to do is clip the bottom here all around the bottom of the actual hooded house. So when you clip this, you want to make sure the hooded house part is facing outwards. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so I like to start with back seam. So this is how it looks when I clip all the way around it. So as you can see, the hooded house is facing outward, or the top of the hooded house is facing outward. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip it over, and I'm gonna put it in my machine like this, and I'm gonna sew to the left of this seam here just a little bit, just so it's not shown. So I'll show you how I do that. Oh, and we are gonna sew all the way around it, attaching this piece to the top. And for this, you wanna make sure you only go through the bottom and the bottom of the hooded house. You don't wanna go through up here or anything like that. So to help with that, I'm sticking my hand underneath, and my hand underneath is allowing me to keep the fabric flat. So you wanna make sure it's flat as you sew around. So this is how it looks when I sew all the way around it. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is cut off the excess here. So this is how it looks when I trim off the excess. So now I'm going to turn it right side out. This is how the inside looks. So the inside is pretty much finished. So now we're going to repeat the same process, but we're going to do it to the outside. Alright, so for the outside you want to make sure it's turned inside out. Alright, and then we're going to attach the top to the bottom here. What you want to do for this when you clip it together, or when we sew it, you don't want to sew through the foam. We only want to sew through the fleece down here and the bottom. I'm going to clip that. So here I'm not clipping the foam, I'm just clipping the fleece and the bottom here. And you want to make sure that the two good sides on the inside are touching each other and the bad side is facing outwards. This is how it looks when I clip it together. So as you can see, I didn't clip the foam, only the fleece and the bottom. So now I'm going to stick it under my machine just like we did the other piece. And what I'm going to do is sew a little bit left of the seam already on the bottom. And what you want to make sure with this is you do not go through the foam, just because it's really hard to go through foam and these layers here. So just only go through the fleece at the bottom and do your actual bottom pad. So I'm going to go and sew that. Alright, so this is how it looks when you sew around the bottom. So you see how I didn't sew through the foam, I only sewed through the fleece down here and the actual bottom. Alright, so now I'm going to turn it right side out just to make sure it looks good. Here's the bottom when it's turned right side out. Alright, so for the next step, what we're going to do now is attach our inside to the outside. You want to make sure the outside is turned like this. Right, and then you want to make sure your inside is turned right side out, so that when you put it in, the two good sides are touching each other. Alright, and then when you put it in, you kind of want to make sure it lines up the same way so it's easier to clip. And so now what we're going to do is flip the inside all the way around. So what I first like to do is find the first two seams, or the back seams, and I like to line those up. And then once they're lined up, I add a clip that. Alright, and then I just start clipping all the way around, lining up the edges to the edge of the other piece. So this is what it looks like when I clip the front all together. Now to attach the inside to the top, what I'm going to do is sew all the way around, or not all the way around. What I'm going to do is I sew on the inside, so I sew on the pink part, and what I like to do is start about here, then I sew up all the way around, and I stop about here. So you leave a hole in the front so you can turn it right side out. So this is very similar to like sewing a cuddle cup. So I'm going to start here, sew all the way around, stop right here. Make sure you leave a hole big enough to pull this right side out. So leave about a 5-inch hole. So let's go and do that. Leave about an inch inseam. So this is how it looks when I sewed all, like I started down here and I just sewed all the way around here and I stopped there. So I'm going to move these clips out of the way. You see how I have this hole and sew all the way around it? Alright, so now for the next step, what we're going to do is turn it right side out. So to turn it right side out, I just grab the top layer here and I just stick my hand in. I try to grab the furthest away piece, which I think is up here, and I'll just start pulling it through. Alright, so it should look like this. So now what I'm going to do is start shaping it. Alright, so this is how it should look. Close up this hole here. What I do is I hand sew it shut, like a needle and thread, and I start here and I just follow this seam all the way around back here to close that up. And I do a simple ladder stitch is the type of stitch I'm gonna do. how it looks hand sewed. We're almost done. Alright, so you see how the back here keeps coming down like that? So to prevent that from happening, what I like to do is add a 2-inch seam all the way around the house just to keep this back and to keep the front seams here from rolling. What I like to do is I'll start down here at a 2-inch seam and I'll just sew all the way around it. And this also helps it keep its shape. So let's go ahead and do that. Looks when you're all done, when you're at that last seam. So you see how this part doesn't really come down as easy now unless you pull it, and sewing it this way helps you clean it out easier too, because you can just grab the bottom, pull it out, and shake out any poops or that type of thing. So again, here it is all done. As you can see, it's pretty big. Alright, and if you guys do decide to remake this, I'm going to take a picture. Message me on Instagram or Facebook if you want to get my feedback. And don't forget, you guys, to comment down below letting me know what tutorial you guys want to see next. And the comment with the most likes or the most commented about is going to be the next tutorial I do. Also, if anyone is wondering where I got certain items I used in this video, everything I used in this video is going to be linked down below in the description. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.